You are listening to the Global Reality Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, and everyone listening on the World Wide Web and beyond. This is the Global Reality with your host, Josh Reeves.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Just like last week, yesterday we had some technical issues, and I did do a show, but unfortunately it was lost. Bummer. So, as we did last week, that makes this show officially the Tuesday, September 29th and Wednesday, September 30th, 2015 edition of the broadcast. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for listening, no matter where you're listening, on a rebroadcast or an archive or wherever it may be, YouTube, I don't know. Thank you for being here. It kind of worked out like it did last week, though, because today there was less news stories, less stuff to cover than there was yesterday. So today we'll just combine all that stuff. But the bummer for me is I have to go back through the stories that I've already covered and already talked about that you didn't hear me talk about. And, you know, it's always sometimes difficult to go through those again with the same gusto and you know, the same intensity as you did the first time. But damn it, I'm going to give it my best shot. How about that? Yes, indeed. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. Last week, when we had technical issues, I didn't mention this on air, but I was saying to myself, like, that goddamn Mercury retrograde. You know, that's what all the hippies and all the New Agers and stuff. And it's hilarious because they all say that, but I mean, I believe it. I believe in it too. I think it. You know, it definitely. There's something to the whole thing that Mercury retrograde causes, you know, shit to go tits up for you. It is true, but for me, it always happens just strictly to my technology related stuff, computers and audio stream websites. It always is just that, nothing else really. But you'll hear people, man, when there's a lot of those Mercury retrogrades, and you'll hear it's funny because it'll be every goddamn thing you can imagine. And people blame it on Mercury retrograde. It's like, fuck. Oh, man, my car's out of gas. I got to go to the gas station. Yeah, fill up. Put some fuel in my car. Fucking Mercury retrograde. God damn it. That motherfucker makes me run out of gas every time. That damn, shit like that. I ran out of toothpaste. Fuck. It's that damn Mercury retrograde. I mean, seriously, people shit like that, even goofier than that. I hear people blame it on, I stubbed my toe on the table in the living room. Goddamn Mercury retrograde. They blame me for everything. So I'm here to tell you, I am not one of those people that blames everything on it, though. But I can, as I do with all this stuff, I can only tell you how I see it from my own experiences. And it always messes with my technology. And last week, I didn't even know I don't really keep up with that stuff as much as I used to, so I didn't even really know a Mercury retrograde was going on. And I made a joke about it. I was like, God damn Mercury retrograde fucking up my show. So I have to do the same show again. Put 2 nights into one. And I had no idea there actually was one going on. And somebody was like, oh, yeah, it's Mercury retrograde. I'm like, really? It's happening right now? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I say I didn't even know that. So there you go, further confirmation. And it's funny because I was thinking that last week, and then after we had some issues with the stuff last night, and I kid you not, when I was getting ready to see if there were any more additional stories that I wanted to cover today, in addition to the ones I'm recovering that you didn't hear, I kid you not, another synchronicity. Here it is yet. The first story that I found today upon doing my daily news gathering is a story about Mercury retrograde. And I tell you, I've been looking at the news for a long time, and I've never seen the Mercury retrograde, specifically the thing about people blaming it on everything, being a news story. And it was the first freaking story that I saw today. That's 3 signs from the universe right there, folks. Having a rotten week? Blame a tiny planet 48 million miles away. Mercury is in retrograde and causing cosmic chaos. There's a simple explanation for those having a truly terrible week. Mercury is in retrograde, a time known in the calendar for confusion. Confusion? Is that what's going on? Are my computers becoming confused by the Mercury retrograde and thinking that the good hour and a half worth of data that I just recorded is actually shit, turd, virus, computer killing data? So as soon as I've done all my hard work, it just dumps it and flushes it down the toilet, completely unrecoverable, even by like forensic hard drive analysis. Is that okay? I get it now then. Thank you for explaining that to me. Confusion. Okay, so my computer just gets confused. It confuses good, hard data that I want to keep for flush it down the toilet and burn it data. Okay, gotcha. Now that we're clear, I'm better with this. Just don't fucking do it again. People are blaming the phenomenon for ripped jeans and Facebook failures. Yeah, I that's funny. Because I've seen people blame everything on it. Oh, I went to this Chinese restaurant tonight, and the food was terrible. I got sick with food poisoning from it, and I had to miss 2 nights of work. Damn Mercury retrograde, I hate you. Come on now. I mean, are you really going to blame the Mercury retrograde on your fucking dirty ass Kung Pao chicken that you ate? Here's a tip. Never eat chicken from a fucking Chinese food restaurant. I don't give a damn if they say it's the best shit on earth. Don't eat fucking chicken from a Chinese food ever, under any circumstances. I mean, I've got a fucking iron gullet. And I've once, twice, 3 times a fucking lady in my life nearly died from food poisoning from eating chicken from Chinese food restaurants. And not even the same ones either. I mean, we're talking about ones scattered across the earth from each other. I tell you, after once, twice, 3 times, 3 times a lady on the food poisoning, you're like, no, never going to do that again. That's the war. I mean, you really seriously feel like not only are you going to die and you can't hold anything down and everything's coming up, but while all that is going on, there's the constant feeling of someone shanking you in the gut with a prison shank over and over again, repeatedly, nonstop. That shit is bad. So just don't eat that crap. And then you don't have to blame it on Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is not the cause of your shitty Kung Pao chicken. It's, low quality food standards and, important. I mean, these places are importing that shit straight from China. There ain't no telling what it is. Probably cat. There's a Chinese buffet in the outskirts of Dallas called the Kitty Cat Buffet. And I used to make that joke, that chicken's probably cat, And then someone actually had the audacity to name their buffet the Kitty Cat Buffet. So of course, me, I was like, well, I'm gonna go check that shit out. Fuck it. And it turned out to be good. This was years ago, though. Who knows? It was still there. It was 15 years ago, but still. Are you having a terrible week? Car broken down, emails piling up, heels snapped on your favorite pair of shoes? Fear not. There may be a very simple, if surprising, explanation for your woes. Since September 17th, Mercury, that tiny gray orb 48 million miles away, has been in retrograde, an astrological phenomenon that occurs when the planet's orbit intersects with Earth and it appears to be moving backwards in the sky. The retrograde happens 3 times every year. We've already had one in January and May, and it's known in astrology circles as a black spot in the calendar, when chaos, confusion, and miscommunication reign. For believers, the retrograde, which lasts for 3 weeks, with the current one coming to an end on October 9th, is to blame for everything going wrong in their lives, however minor. Never again will I doubt the whole Mercury retrograde thing, wrote one user on a social network on Twitter. On Friday, my jeans ripped at work. Then the garage door broke. Another said, Facebook, down for the 3rd time of the month, and Mercury's in retrograde. Standard. So Facebook being down is now being... Well, I mean, maybe it is. Like I said, I've never noticed any ill effects from Mercury retrograde, except specifically that every time, without fail, we have computer issues, specifically related to, actually not computer-related issues in any other facet. Like if I'm working on a film and stuff like that, the technology works fine. It's always the technology and whatever particular stuff pertains to the show, and I've been using so many different computers through the years, you can't just blame it on that. So, yeah, it's very, very interesting. But, I mean, again, people do take it way too far. It's there's no question that there is validity to it, but this whole thing where, I ran out of gas, man, fucking Mercury retrograde. No, it's your lazy dumbass forgets to go to the gas station when it's on the dark side of the moon for fucking 2 or 3 fucking days. How on earth could extraterrestrial happenings have any influence on our lives? After all, it sounds like a convenient excuse. Something to blame instead of admitting we have been clumsy, forgetful, absent-minded, or just unlucky. But believers insist there may be more to this planetary phenomenon than skeptics think. The first thing to note, says the Mail's astrologer Jonathan Kaner, is that retrograde is a misnomer. Mercury isn't actually moving backwards at all. It's an optical illusion. No planet actually slows down, speeds up, or goes backwards. Rather, it has to do with the speed at which it orbits the sun as compared to the speed that the Earth orbits the sun. But if you track it in the sky, it will appear to slow down, grind to a halt, and then retrace its steps. I went to fucking Jack in the Box and got 2 combo meals, and they forgot to give me fries at one of my combo meals. Goddamn Mercury retrograde. Fucking A. You motherfucker, you. Oh, man. Yeah, I was walking down the street today, and I thought I was about to pass a healthy fart. Oh, and I forgot I had fucking P.F. Chang's last night, and that fart turned into a shark, and I had khakis on, and oh man, I had mud running down my leg the whole time I was fucking walking down the street. It sucked. Mercury retrograde, damn you. Really, I've heard people take it way too far. And, I'm one of those people that knows just from my own experience and also from, researching everything else, anything. Sometimes we don't understand how much power that we have and how much our own minds have. And we don't understand that anything that we give power to will have power. I mean, if you believe an apple is a god, then apple can have the power of a god if you give enough of your own energy and power to it. It's just the way it works. And these things only have power if we allow them to have power over us. Most of the time. Most of the time. Because I've noticed, as I said, I tried to just ignore when the Mercury retrogrades were happening and just say, okay, well, I'm not going to pay attention to it. But it's hard to do that in the days of social media because you see, every Tom, Dick, and Harry fucking posting about it. I'm sorry, I should say Dick, Jane, and Harry. Dick, Jane, and Harriet, or I don't know, what's the PC fucking proper term to use these days? Not that I give a shit. So I've tried to just ignore it. But as I said, last week I wasn't aware. I had been ignoring it and ignoring the dates of when the Mercury retrogrades happened, and I noticed its effect, and I even made the joke, well, it must be Mercury retrograde, and sure enough, it was. So that's an interesting thing, too. Because on the one hand, I know from my own experience that if you don't give energy to something and put energy into something, they won't have any power back over you. I know that to be true, but also at the same time, I also know that things that you aren't paying attention to or giving power to at all, in any kind of a way, can have influence and sway over you. So how do we make those things meet up, and what are those energies being caused by, and how do we work in attunement with those energies? So have them work against us. There must be a way that we can figure out how to make them work for us. So like I said, I try not to get wrapped up in blaming everything on it, but I find it very fascinating that I see these same patterns every time there is one. Just for me, just for computer stuff, and specifically related to this show and whatnot. So interesting stuff there. We got lots more news to get into with you here tonight, and again, we thank you for being with us. I want to give you our updates on our fundraising efforts for this month. This month of September marks 8 years of broadcasting for us here at the Global Reality. We thank everybody who's helped us get this far. Well, we had our goal this month to raise $4,000 so we could pay all the operating costs through the beginning of 2016. That way we could focus on just the task at hand here, doing the shows, making films, and not have to have fundraising efforts and all that. We have only raised $330 of our $4,000 goal. Now, ideally, we'd love to reach the whole $4,000. If we don't, though, at minimum, our operating costs for the month are $900. So we've raised $330. 30 of that already went to go pay one bill. So we need roughly of the 4,000 goal left, about 700, 500 no later than the end of the day on Thursday, and then if we get the other 200 in on Friday, we'll be fine. So again, I've been checking the stats on the low quality archives. We're getting so many people listening to those, and so many people listening on the YouTube channel, but hardly anybody at all supporting our work, and we really need your support. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to keep this stuff up and running at all. I mean, if we don't get what we need at minimum to cover the operating costs in here by tomorrow night and Friday, then we're going to be out of business. That's the bottom line. So we'd love to have you all, in celebration of our 8-year anniversary, show your support and help us kick this to a upper level, another notch, and just to see what we can achieve without having to fundraise for a few months. But if we can't do that, at minimum, we need to have 500 by the end of the day on Thursday, and another 200, or the whole thing, right now would even be better. But when you go to the 8-year anniversary fundraiser link, it's on the right-hand side of the page of my website. You can click on that, and it'll open up to the actual page, and if you scroll down, there are a few different perk packages you can get in there. So definitely go and check that out. Another thing I wanted to tell you about the fundraiser page there, I think it only allows you to pay with PayPal. I know some people like to pay with their credit card or debit card. If you want to do that, just forego making your contribution through that page and just go to my website, theglobalreality.com, and scroll down to the bottom where there's a donate button on the right-hand side of the page. That will allow you to make a contribution without having to have a PayPal account or without having to transfer money from a bank account to your PayPal account. It'll allow you to just check out, I think, as a guest or something, and you can enter a debit card, credit card, or even a prepaid card if you don't have a bank account or credit card and you want to contribute. You can go to a drugstore. I think gas stations even have them. You can get a Visa prepaid card or something that you put an amount on, and it'll allow you to put that amount in to make a contribution through the donate button there at my website. So I wasn't clear about that, I think, when I first started using this, because I thought you would allow you just to use a credit card, but I think it only allows you to use PayPal, which is great. We prefer PayPal here, but if you want to contribute and all you have is a debit card, credit card, or a prepaid card, you can still support our work by going to the donate button. Now, everybody who donates $100 this month, in the next 48 hours, will get 1 year archive access to the Goal Reality high quality HD member archives and one download of your choice from the Global Reality download store. Now, it's $80 for a month. $80 for a year, rather, for our HD members archive. So for a $100 donation, you're already getting $80 right there. You're getting a year. If you already have a 1 year membership, hey, add another year to it. Then you're good for a couple of years. You don't have to worry about it. And also, any download from our download shop, including the one that has, it's like a $35 package that has all my films in it. You can even choose that too. So, boom, there you go. You'll be getting a year of my archives and every film I've made up to this point, up to Lost Secrets 2, in one pack for only a $100 donation. You can't beat that. But if you want to be in the running to win, we have a huge, gigantic prize pack that's worth $500. If anybody donates $500 right off the top, they're going to be the automatic winner of this giant prize pack. If you go over that amount, it'll be up to the amount that you contribute. But I really want somebody to win this. I really want somebody to, because as it stands now, we don't even have anybody in the running for it. And this has got some really one-of-a-kind, unique stuff in this package. I'm not even going to tell you what's in it because it's so incredible. I want it to be a surprise when you get it. And there'll be a special note in there and stuff from me telling you what some of the stuff is in case you don't know what it is. But a $500 donation would get that to you, our 8-year anniversary prize pack that we're giving away. And it would also help us get the minimum that we need by the end of the day on Thursday. And then, a few other people coming in at the $100 level would help. 7 people coming in at the $100 level. 7 people. I mean, that wouldn't even be 0.5% of our listening audience. 7 people, $100. Hey, if you can't donate that much, $10, $15, whatever you can. But we've got to have it in here ASAP. We didn't, it's the end of the month. We didn't reach near our goal to be able to do our experiment. Yeah, but hey, you never know. I'm not giving up. A miracle could happen. Somebody might come in here and donate the entire amount. You just never know. That's how it goes with this stuff. It's up and down, peaks and valleys. It's the way it goes. And we only do this with your help. That's the only way we can do it. So anyway, again, if you can't contribute through the PayPal link on the Go Get Funding page, just go to the donate button and you can use a credit card, debit card, whatever you want to use there that way. Also, you also have a limited amount of time to get 20% off in my Etsy shop, Let There Be Rocks. That's www.etsy.com/shop/Let There Be Rocks, one word. You get 20% off all our jewelry, crystals, mineral specimens. We have amazing stuff in there. Amazing one-of-a-kind stuff. Stuff nobody else has. A lot of our jewelry pieces, they're all one-of-a-kind. Once you get it, we won't be getting another one for most of this stuff. But if you're not into rings and pendants, we've got all kinds of amazing rare mineral specimens and all kinds of stuff in there. So, if you go and say spend a certain amount in the Etsy shop, that will also count towards your contribution for the month. So, if you went in there and bought $500 worth of stuff or something, and that ended up being the biggest contribution, then you would, by proxy, without having to even have a cash donation, just buying that much merchandise from our Etsy shop would automatically make you the winner of the grand prize 8-year anniversary prize pack. So, and if you do a little bit of both, you may, contribute one amount, whatever it may be, to the fundraiser, then make a purchase in the download shop or in the Etsy shop. We'll count that towards your final contribution. So all that will be added up. So there you go. Please help us. We don't have any time left. We've scraped by this month with almost zero in support. Everything we've gotten in for the whole month has been this week. It's been a terrible month for us, being our 8-year anniversary. It's been gloomy and has not made me feel good about the future, to be honest with you. The 8-year anniversary is supposed to be about pumping up and getting ready for the future and what we're going to do next and what films we're going to put out next and the rest of it. And it's just felt like one big letdown. So please, at minimum, help us cover the operating costs so we continue, folks. If you're not going to help us, do things big, at least at minimum help us survive. And that's really what we need at this point. Okay, so on the last broadcast, we were talking about the supposed big revelation that NASA was going to make on Monday, and I, of course, ahead of time knew exactly what it was going to be. And so I gave you my analysis and everything on that on the last show. And there's been some stuff that's come out since then that appears that I was even more right on the mark than I even knew. I knew there was water on Mars months ago. Director Ridley Scott says he was shown evidence long before NASA announced it, and he's got a new film, The Martian, out this week. Ridley Scott is one of the, if there was anybody that I would describe as, an Illuminati or whatever you want to call it type of filmmaker, he's definitely one. And that weird blood sacrifice thing that happened with his brother, Tony Scott, a couple of years ago, where they said he jumped off that bridge because he had some kind of cancer. And they released it in the news and everything, even his press people did. And then a few days after that, his wife said, called bullshit on it. And the press said he didn't have cancer. What are you talking about? Absolutely, he did not. And one of the last people to see him alive was Tom Cruise. So what's that tell you? There's definitely, I totally think his brother's death was some kind of a blood sacrifice or something of another. So right there, all the things I already knew about Ridley Scott and all the suspicions I had about him working with the powers that be are confirmed. Ridley Scott worked closely with NASA while making the movie. He asked them about the possibility of finding water on the red planet. One NASA rep joked that the film would help the refinancing of the U.S. space program. Now, that was the original intent of the Star Trek series, was to get the general public behind funding the space program. And a NASA representative joked on the set of the film, joked my ass. I'm glad that in the article they at least put joked in parentheses. Yeah, because joke my ass. He's telling the truth. So there you go. This was one big orchestrated operation to try and convince get the general public behind funding these programs. And they're coinciding it with this Matt Damon movie. The big revelation this week was that NASA found evidence of water on Mars, but one man claims to have known about it months ago. Ridley Scott, the director of the film The Martian, which is out this week. This had led to speculation that the space agency's announcement was deliberately delayed to coincide with the release of the movie, which stars Matt Damon as an astronaut who was stranded on the red planet with limited resources to survive. And yeah, NASA was 100%. They had script approval on this film. They were very much involved in its creation. So, of course, they would be very much involved in any viral marketing campaigns. I mean, again, that shows you the credibility of NASA, that they would even consider, much less execute, a plan to coincide, a so-called scientific discovery with the release of a film that, of course, they helped create as a platform to sell the general public on funding their bullshit operations. I mean, this is not new stuff. Again, the original Star Trek series was created for that. That's what a lot of these Trekkies and Trekkers and they don't get about Star Trek. I mean, I think it's all, fun science fiction and this, that, and the other, and ooh. But, I mean, they don't know that, what was the guy's name that created Star Trek? Gene Roddenberry? Gene Roddenberry was a high-level Freemason. All the original, people who were science consultants on Star Trek were all Nazis brought over here during Project Paperclip. They were taking stuff from secret Nazi weapon programs that they knew about. They had knowledge of because they were involved in them. And then we brought them over here and put them to work in places like NASA. And they were giving those script ideas. Richard Hoagland, as I call him, he's still salty to this day because he was supposed to be one of the original science advisors, and he was fired and replaced with one of Wernher von Braun's paperclip Nazis. That's a fact. So they've been doing this. This has been going on forever. But it's the timing of while I'm working on this new film is definitely interesting to me. Scott and scriptwriter Drew Goddard had consulted extensively with NASA, and early on in the filmmaking process, the helmsman behind such sci-fi classics as Blade Runner and Alien had made inquiries about the likelihood of water being found there. Speaking to Yahoo Movies, he said, "When I first talked to NASA, I said, so I know you've got these massive glaciers." And they said, "Yeah, that massive white thing on the surface of Mars that gets covered with dust, we think that's ice." And I said, "Wow, does that mean there was an ocean? Are we right now what Mars was 750 million years ago?" And they went, good question. So they want to go out there and find out. Lo and behold, Scott was shown photos of water flows on the red planet about 2 months ago, according to the New York Times. Well, so what? Again, they've told us multiple times there's water there. I mean, again, everybody that I've talked to, I'm sure everybody you out there have talked to, I mean, I feel like it's been general knowledge consensus. It's just common knowledge. But again, they try to roll this out on us like it's some new revelation because they have an agenda behind it. And in this case, these films that depict space and all this stuff and the way they want people to see it in their minds so that they get behind these programs, which are always not anything. That's my real question here. I mean, I think we don't have anything but speculation. I don't think anybody has the real answer. But the fact of the matter is, for them to be putting this much effort behind this, there's some kind of hidden agenda that's important to the elite that they don't want the general public to know about. Because otherwise they wouldn't be trying to get us to be behind it so much as they are. Because they always have some public explanation for these things and then their own agenda they're trying to achieve without the knowledge of the public. So there's that. And then also Ridley Scott in the news again today. This is very interesting. This to me was further confirmation of what I analyzed on the last broadcast. Again, it's the timing of this stuff. And I mentioned the other night that I felt it could have had something to do with the further phony alien disclosure that they're working up towards the whole Mars thing. I still think that very much. And then this comes out, why Ridley Scott thinks aliens are real. So all of a sudden, here's Ridley Scott telling us out of the blue he believes aliens are real, right in time with this. Oh, yeah, I knew there was water there 2 months ago. Yeah, we were working extensively with NASA on this film. And oh, yeah, coincide the release of this information to coincide with the release of this film. Yeah, so what? There is, people still think there's this separation between reality and Hollywood, and there really isn't. It's all about selling us a version of reality that they want us to believe is real. And again, if you put enough energy and enough belief into anything, it becomes real. As a filmmaker, Sir Ridley Scott is responsible for introducing the world to perhaps the most terrifying movie extraterrestrial of all time, the H.R. Giger-designed xenomorph from his 1979 science fiction classic Alien, though one of his greatest films deals with the subject. And that's another thing I want to say about Ridley Scott. The guy was one of the most single-handed people responsible for this idea and portrayal of hostile aliens. And going back to the paperclip Nazis and Wernher von Braun, that was one of the things that he warned about, was this massive operation to convince us that non-hostile aliens are actually hostile. And I think that's been something that that Ridley Scott achieved more than anybody. Like, as they said there, making the most terrifying aliens you could even think of. And of course, with Prometheus, if you've ever seen that, that's. See, I always wondered for years. In the original Alien, you see this giant. It's a giant man. It's a giant alien. It looks human. And it's in this chair, and they kind of walk past it and ignore it. Nobody ever mentions that it's there. So the first Alien movie, it always bugged the shit out of me. I said, that's a giant. That's like an Anunnaki guy or something. And, who would have guessed 30-something years, or 40 years, or whatever it was, 30-something years later after that original Alien was made, that they would have made a prequel. And, of course, what did they do? The Prometheus was pretty much, these guys were the Anunnaki, and they created this stuff. Just basically, it mutates and whatnot. And they're going to come out with 2 more of those Prometheus movies. So definitely Ridley Scott, when you think of Prometheus, when you watch that movie, and you think of what we're talking about here, it becomes pretty clear that he's plugged in. And somebody is feeding him stuff to put in these films. There's definitely an agenda behind it. And I've been saying this for years. I think eventually they will. All the stuff about the Anunnaki stuff, all that, mankind being genetically created by another race, it's all going to come out. At this point, they have no choice. I think it's all going to come out. They're all going to use it. It's part of the agenda for the phony disclosure thing. But they're never going to give us all the real answers. They're going to give us a version of the truth, and hopes to appease and shut up all the people like myself and others who've been trying to expose this stuff for many years. Understand that it doesn't take the whole truth to appease the public. All they have to do is give the public a good enough explanation that they will believe. And that'll be enough. Look at 9/11. Look at JFK. And so all of a sudden he's letting us know he believes in aliens. Interesting timing there, Ridley Scott. Interesting timing. The military's secret military. Green Berets, Navy SEALs, and the special ops you'll never know about. You can find them in dusty, sun-baked badlands, moist tropical forests, and the salty spray of third-world littorals. Standing in judgment, buffeted by the rotor wash of a helicopter or sweltering beneath a relentless desert sky, they instruct, yell, and cajole as skinnier men play act under the watchful eyes. In many places, more than their particular brand of camouflage, better boots and designer gear sets them apart. Their days are scented by stale sweat and gunpowder. Their nights are spent in rustic locales and third-world bars. These men, and they are mostly men, belong to an exclusive military fraternity that traces its heritage back to the birth of a nation. Typically, they've spent the better part of a decade as more conventional soldiers, sailors, Marines, or airmen before making the cut. They've probably been deployed overseas 4 to 10 times. The officers are generally approaching their mid-30s, the enlisted men their late 20s. They've had more schooling than most in the military. They're likely to be married with a couple of kids. And day after day, they carry out shadowy missions over much of the planet. Sometimes covert raids, more often hush-hush training exercises from Chad to Uganda, Bahrain to Saudi Arabia, Albania to Romania, Bangladesh to Sri Lanka, Belize to Uruguay. They belong to Special Operations Forces. And odds are if you throw a dart on a world map or stop a spinning globe with your index finger and don't hit water, they've been there sometime in 2015. Absolutely. This is, this is something people don't even know goes on. They think that militaries are only launching wars and people are only attacking countries when they get on the news and tell you there's a war going on. And that's just not the case. And these, special ops groups that are off the books, this is how they get the job done without the general public knowing about it. And now with with these paid mercenary groups and the rise of groups like the group formerly called Blackwater and all that stuff. I mean, for the right amount of money, for the right price, you got enough money, you can buy an army. It's not like it used to be. All this stuff is just whoever is the highest bidder, really. You want to overthrow a country? You don't have to be the head of a country anymore to do it. That's a fact, Jack. Rare 3,000-year-old King David-era seal discovered by Temple Mount Sifting Project. Well, that's very interesting. A rare 3,000-year-old seal from the time of King David in the 10th century was recently discovered by a 10-year-old Russian volunteer at Jerusalem's Temple Mount Sifting Project. Dr. Gabriel Barkay, co-founder and director of the project, which sifts through thousands of tons of illegally removed earth from the contested holy site in 1999 by the Waqf Religious Trust to build a mosque, said that the finding is unprecedented. The seal is the first of its kind to be found in Jerusalem, said Barkay, a world-renowned archaeologist and Israel Prize laureate who has led the project for more than 10 years. The dating of the seal corresponds to the historical period of the Jebusites and the conquest of Jerusalem by King David, as well as the construction of the temple by the royal official. Oh, I hate when that happens. Whoever makes these websites that makes them auto-refresh drives me crazy. As well as the construction of the temple and the royal official compound by his son, King Solomon. What makes this discovery particularly significant is that it originated from upon the Temple Mount itself. And the markings on this thing look similar to some of the markings that have been found on ancient artifacts and ancient sites in the United States. And of course, as I show in my Lost Secrets of Ancient America film, there was definitely people from that ancient era of the Middle East in the United States, and they had a hand in building these mounds and ancient sites. And how do we know that? Well, we know that because all their numerology that they used in their building construction related to the Babylonian system of gods and the entire numerical system. That's where 666 and all that stuff comes from. That's why so many of these ancient sites have 666 encoded to them. It's not because they were built by ancient Satan worshipers, as the religious zealots in America would have you believe if they even knew about it, but it has to do with the Babylonian numerical system of gods. And 666 was the god and the sun, and all these mounds are aligned to solar events and whatnot. They track the solstices and the equinoxes. That's why. Because they're built in tribute to these Babylonian era gods. That's, to me, that one little piece of info, that's in Lost Secrets of Ancient America Volume 2. To me, that little piece of information explains everything you need to know and all the questions about these ancient sites. Because those Babylonians that had that system, those were the progeny of the original Anunnaki that came to Earth. That's why I found so much of this Anunnaki symbology all over the United States that these ancient sites have gone to. And much of that I detail in my Lost Secrets of Ancient America films. And if we eventually have the funding to finish Volume 3, then we'll have even more of that, because I found even more crazy shit. Stargates and everything else we're going to cover in that one. It's going to be unbelievable if we can ever get around to finishing it. I forgot about this one. Right in line with, again, talking about the NASA announcement. It's gotten to the point where, I mean, this is Newsweek.com, for Christ's sakes, folks. And they put this out just a few hours after I did that show earlier in the week. And I swear, I mean, this happens all the time now. The mainstream media is paying attention to shows like mine and stuff now. There's just no question about it. They use these independent shows like mine. They don't ever give us credit or anything else for their content most of the time. And, you know, we've become such a threat now that they actually have to run articles about us at Newsweek.com. I mean, I can't help but think that this is at least in a small part pointed directly at me. I'll read it to you and let you decide. Fucking Newsweek.com, folks. Mars conspiracy truthers react to NASA's water announcement. Following NASA's announcement yesterday that scientists had discovered traces of flowing water on present-day Mars, conspiracy theorists and even political commentators question the motives behind the announcement and what the findings could mean. Well, since when have they ever given a shit? That's when you know that everything that we've been saying and talking about concerning these things is true. Because most of the time, you know, we'll commentate on all the things they do and they don't say shit. But for this particular issue concerning this, you know, phony rollout of the water discovery in tandem with the Ridley Scott Matt Damon movie, all of a sudden within 24 hours, they respond to quote-unquote conspiracy theorists in Newsweek magazine? Since when? I mean, what does that say, ladies and gentlemen? Obviously, we hit a little close to home there, because again, we can commentate on all these subjects till the cows come home, and they don't run full big articles in fucking Newsweek about it. They know that they know we're onto them, and it's not just they've been fine with the fact that some of us have been onto them for quite a while. What they're not happy with is the fact that people have now seen this stuff for themselves, and it's becoming more and more difficult to just consign this information to the fringe conspiracy tinfoil hat bin. NASA said on Monday it had discovered recurring slope lineae, seasonal streaks that scientists first observed in 2010. The scientists now say they found evidence of hydrated salt on the slopes, indicating a presence of water. On his radio show Monday, Rush Limbaugh dismissed NASA's announcement, saying the agency was falsifying data and promoting claims about climate change. There's so much fraud, he said. What's to stop them from making up something that happened on Mars that will help advance their left-wing agenda on this planet? Oh, okay. Now I see what they're trying to do. Yeah, this is absolutely a hit piece. Notice what they're trying to do there? They're trying to take so-called conspiracy theorists and lump us in the same category with Rush Limbaugh, just like they used to do in the early days of the 9/11 Truth Movement. If you said anything about 9/11, they try to lump you in with Michael Moore. Oh, you must be a fan of that Fahrenheit 9/11. No, Michael Moore sucks. He's a fucking Marxist piece of shit. Fuck that guy. So, I mean, what? I don't think anybody besides some right-wing talking head like Limbaugh would try to say that this has anything to do with them. Again, more smoke. But they do that and put that out there so that then their followers, their brainwashed right-wing followers will take it and go, well, that's why Obama wants to go to that Mars so bad. I want to go up there and see if I can find something make us believe they got global warming down there on that Mars, and we got global warming here. We're finding the same thing, so then they can come and kill us and put us in their commie camps. I ain't gonna do that shit. So right out of the gates, yeah, let's associate anybody with an alternative theory with the Rush Limbaugh. Other people question whether it was a coincidence that the announcement came a few days before 20th Century Fox releases The Martian, about an astronaut stranded on Mars. NASA denied that it scheduled the announcement to coincide with the movie release to Yahoo News. Still following the announcement, the publicity team for the film said on Twitter, referring to the film's protagonist, "Good news for mankind, great news for Watney." Watney being the Matt Damon character in the film. As Newsweek has reported, NASA may have participated more on The Martian than on any other collaborations with filmmakers, including for script development, principal photography, marketing, and scheduling of the release. Well, NASA wants to be hip to whatever the new movie-making technologies are, so they know how to properly fake whatever the next fake space mission they sell to the public is. However, at least one conspiracy theorist predicted the new findings 15 years ago. Oh my God. Richard Hoagland. Now, there's the synchronicity loophole for you right there, baby. There it is. That's my life right there. When we just mentioned Hoaglander, then we get another article. And here, who are they rolling out to be their conspiracy theorist example? Richard Hoagland. Again, a guy who was originally hired to be the science advisor on the original Star Trek, which was designed to do the same thing this Matt Damon movie is designed to do. Sell the general public on getting behind the space program. I mean, unbelievable, folks. They don't even hide this stuff anymore. Of course, they'll bring out another one of their guys they own to be their example. And notice they don't bring up any of the things that real researchers are bringing up about this whole thing. The fact that this is all, designed to fake phony reality to sell to the general public, just like the Mars, just like the original moon mission was, and 9/11, everything else. So blah blah Hoagland, blah blah Hoagland, this on and on and on, and that's the end of the article. So they start the article out by saying, Mars conspiracy truthers react to NASA's water announcement, yet they give no example in there of any so-called Mars conspiracy truthers' opinions, ideas, or what they're saying that might have been. They simply quote Rush Limbaugh and then have a quote from Hoagland saying, well, I said there was water there years ago. Oh, no one listened to me. And that's it. That's their article. And somehow that's supposed to be conspiracy truthers reacting to NASA's water announcement. See, that's how they do. They write these articles where they try to belittle and defame any alternative ideas, but then they never have anything. It's total weak sauce. They never have anything to combat those ideas, much less even bring them up. That's just weak sauce, Newsweek. Total weak sauce. Nice try, though. Nobody's buying into your bullshit. Possible site of ancient Sodom yields more finds. Now, having completed the 10th season of excavations, an archaeological team headed by Stephen Collins of Trinity Southwest University, New Mexico, has unearthed a gold mine of ancient monumental structures and artifacts that are revealing a massive Bronze Age city-state that dominated the region of Jordan, southwest Jordan Valley, even during a time when many other great cities of the Holy Land region were either abandoned or in serious decline. Known as Tal el Hammam, Collins has been leading excavations at the imposing mound on Tel since 2005. Very, very little was known about the Bronze Age and the Middle Gore before we began excavations. Yeah, this is total Amorite territory here. And notice, again, it's a giant mound. And boy, with all the turmoil going on over there, in that part of the world, that's what the way it's described over here to us, the entire Middle East is just one constant war zone, when really it's not the case. And if that was the case, you wouldn't have all these archaeological digs going on. I mean, they're putting so much money and so much resources into archaeological digs in that part of the world. And here, they're trying to suppress anyone from doing anything. But one exposes the other. That's why it's so important for me to bring light to all the ancient sites. There are so many ancient sites here in the United States of America, folks. So many I haven't even gone to and covered yet. And really, up to this point, no one's really made any films detailing these sites and showing how important they are to sites all around the world, because it shows that we believe that all these cultures and ancient sites around the world were associated with various different cultures, when in reality they were really only associated with one that was all over the place, that influenced everybody. That's what people need to know. Do you believe in aliens? Poll shows Germans are the strongest supporters. The UK is the most skeptical, and right-wingers think governments are hiding the truth. For every person who rubbishes claims that intelligent life is living elsewhere in the universe, it turns out there will likely be someone who believes. That's according to an international poll, which has discovered that half of us are staunch supporters of the idea, while the other half either find the concept ridiculous or are just undecided. Among those who believe, Germans are the strongest supporters at 56%, followed by Americans at 54%, and the UK at 52%. It also revealed that men across the UK and the US are more likely to believe in extraterrestrial life, and only in Germany do a majority of women, 51%, believe. In the UK, there are more UKIP supporters than of any other political party believe aliens exist, while Liberal Democrats is the group most likely to believe the reason we haven't discovered aliens is because they're too far off for us to contact. Almost 2/3 of 18 to 24-year-olds believe in extraterrestrial contact. Now, notice how they're polling the general public now. They spent decades, folks, decades, with disinformation campaigns and, just constant ridicule, trying to tell us, no, extraterrestrials aren't real. No, they're not real. They're not real. They don't exist. They don't exist. They don't exist. You're a crank and a kook and a crazy if you think they do. And then all of a sudden, over the past 10 years, they're going out of their way to try and convince us they do exist, and they're going out of their way to find out whether or not the public does or not. I'll be straight up honest with you. For a long time, I don't think humans have been totally running the show on this planet for a long time. Maybe not ever. That's one thing you learn the longer that you stay looking at this stuff, and the longer you research this, you see it more and more places that we're not really being ruled over by humans at the very, very, very top of the pyramid. It's just not the case. Department of Homeland Security to create a brain chip phone. I joked about that many years ago. 5-6 years ago, I used to joke about it on the show, and I quit joking about it when I started seeing articles come out saying that we're going to have it. That's when I was just like, you know what? I'm not even going to joke about this shit anymore. So every time I make a joke about something, a year, 2, 3 years down the road, we see an article, and it's exactly what I was joking about, and they're here, and it's serious. Because I remember when, the iPhone craze was first happening, That was really early on when I first started on air, and I would say, here in a few years, it's not even going to be the iPhone anymore. It's just going to be the iChip, for your brain. Have Apple's new chip installed in your brain. Download all your movies, music, software, apps, games, all directly to your cerebral cortex. You'll be playing Minecraft in your mind. And lo and behold, they came out with an article a couple years ago. Yeah, that's coming. Oh yeah, we're already working on that. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Department of Homeland Security to create brain chip phone to constantly monitor users and self-destruct if an unauthorized person attempts to tamper with it. The Department of Homeland Security working with Boeing to create a brain chip for its self-destructing black smartphone that can learn its owner's behavior. The system could use motion sensors, microphones, and GPS to monitor its owners by learning how they speak, move, or even type. If it spots unusual behavior, it could alert security forces or even self-destruct. The technology powering these devices potentially could identify the user's walking style, for example. So this is some true Mission Impossible. I mean, fuck this. Message will self-destruct. Horse shit. Your whole goddamn phone will self-destruct. Now, who needs this, Really? And that's what the security contractors and the people working on the, black projects. That's the fun. I mean, we're at this point now where all the information is out there. Everybody's on the grid with their electronic devices. And so the powers that be and the people that work in the secretive programs, they've got to have something that's different from what the general public has in order to keep certain things a secret. And this is their solution. Make a phone that blows up if someone else besides the person who owns it walks near it. I mean, that's a little fucked. I would be frustrated by that. Like, God damn this fucking phone. What's wrong there, Bob? Did you lose your phone? Drop your phone in the toilet or something? No. The goddamn thing blew up on me. It blew up? Well, what the fuck? Did you get a bad battery or something? No, it's my job. And this goddamn Boeing Black Op phone. Jesus Christ, the 18th one I've fucking gone through this week. My dog ran near it, exploded, fucking killed him. My wife heard it going off in my pants and blew her hand off. Jesus Christ, it's been a shitty week, I tell you. Somebody just walks near it that's not you and it blows up. That's fucked. Boy, your tax dollars at work, huh? The science of the Bible, from time being slower when the world was created to Moses being on drugs. Yeah, Moses was on DMT, that's for sure. They found all the alkalis right around the area where he was. Researchers reveal how miracles may have happened. The Bible says the universe was created in 6 days. Scientists say it was created in 13.8 billion years. Gerald Schroeder has famously attempted to reconcile this difference using Albert Einstein's theory that time is relative. The physicist who teaches at the College of Jewish Studies in Jerusalem claims that time is different for humans than it is from the perspective of the Creator. But Schroeder isn't the only one who has attempted to explain miracles in the Bible with science. From Moses being on drugs to global warming being blamed on Noah's flood, some scientists believe there's a logical explanation for every event in the Old Testament. According to an in-depth report by Atlas Obscura, Schroeder believes time when the universe was created about 1 trillion times slower due to what he calls the stretching factor in Einstein's equations. Einstein's model of general relativity, the faster things go, the slower time moves. And Schroeder says because light moves so fast, it affects time. When the Bible describes the day-by-day development of our universe in the 6 days following the creation, it is truly referring to 6 24-hour days. But the reference frame by which those days were measured was one which contained the total universe. Schroeder argues that change of perspective changed the meaning of the 6 days, 6 of these 24 trillion hour days come out to a little over 14 billion years. His theory has been widely dismissed. Peter Enns, a biblical scholar, said it's absurd that you can find physics in Genesis 1. The Bible, the Quran, and even Greek mythology claim that all life on earth came from clay. And that's fascinating because those little reptilian alien statues that were taken from the Iraq National Museum that show reptilian aliens suckling human babies to their breasts, those were made out of clay. And supposedly they were looking for genetic material in order to create some sort of hybrid Nephilim super soldiers. And it's believed that the genetic material they needed to do so was found in those vessels. And some people believe that that's where all the genetic material from the original, I guess Adam and Eve type of Inky prototypes or whatever came from, was those actual vessels. In religious texts from the Egyptian to Chinese legends, God molds clay into the shape of man and then breathes life into him through his nostrils. Even Genesis talks of a man being born from dust and returning to dust when he dies, with scholars translating this from the ancient Hebrew as also meaning clay or the earth itself. A study in 2013 attempted to back up these claims. It said clay acts as a breeding laboratory for tiny molecules and chemicals which it absorbs like a sponge. The process takes billions of years, during which the chemicals react to each other to form proteins, DNA, and eventually living cells, scientists told the journal Scientific Reports. Biological engineers from Cornell University's Department of Nanoscale Science in New York believe clay might have been the birthplace of life on Earth. Well, there you go. So that's fascinating. And again, I think it's all part of the operation. They want to reconcile both those things in the minds of the general public so they can keep people right in line where they want them thinking. That's exactly what they want. I talked about there being a possible solar flare release this month. People were asking me, did I think anything cataclysms were going to happen? And I said, well, no, but I think it is possible we could get some sunspots that could cause disruptions in communications, but, really nothing severe. And lo and behold, that happened this week. An intense solar flare took out low-frequency radio communications over South America and the Atlantic Ocean on September 28th, and the unstable sunspot is likely to erupt again. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory spacecraft captured an amazing video of the solar flare from space. The medium-sized M7 class solar flare burst from the sunspot active region 2422. The explosion unleashed some extreme ultraviolet radiation that rushed over the Earth. Officials at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Space Weather Prediction Center said in a statement, the peak of the action, when there was a brief radio communication blackout on the sunlit side of the Earth, was about 5 minutes later. The flare ended 7 minutes after that. Sunspots are caused by the knots and complications in the sun's magnetic field, and the particularly tangled field within the AR2422 generated this recent solar flare when it released a buildup of magnetic energy suddenly, causing a burst of high-energy radiation that rushed to Earth and supercharged the atmosphere. So, just as I predicted, and I think we may see more of these, but definitely have been in that sort of window of opportunity for these things to happen for some time now. And I think that, again, as we've talked about with the concealing of knowledge encoded into ancient sites concerning these cyclical cataclysms and whatnot, definitely relating to the sun, and ones that happen specifically relating to the sun. Death by fire and that whole thing has been predicted from time immemorial from ancient societies, and that you would have to think that definitely has something to do with the sun, or it definitely would be caused by solar activity. Solar minimums, solar maximums, those are things that happen. And that's where so-called global warming comes from. They try to use it as a mechanism of control, concealing from the public that these cyclical events happen. And sometimes they cause cataclysms that wipe out everybody on Earth, and it's the reset button, and life goes back to normal for a while, and civilizations rise again, and it happens. But they definitely don't want the general public to know that. So that's why they continue to conceal the real knowledge of the sun and these cyclical events that cause warming and cooling periods on Earth. All right, well, we're going to leave it there, folks. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and being with us. Again, we're just flat out of time, and we got to have a minimum of $500 in here for the end of the day on Thursday. Please go to my website, contribute by the donate button, contribute by the 8-year anniversary fundraiser banner, however you can do it. Go get something out of our Etsy shop. There should be links in the archive section here for those stuff as well. And you can also find all the links to all that stuff up at my website and at our Facebook page, the Global Reality Radio Network Facebook page. That stuff is up there. Get yourself this massive prize pack. Be the winner. Contribute $500 and get yourself that. If you can't contribute the $500 and get the giant prize pack, do $100 and get yourself a 1-year membership, archive access, and a free download from the shop. And let's get 7 people to do that. Time to commit, make a contribution, and please help us. At this point, we'd love to reach the whole goal. That would be fantastic. But at this point, we just got to stay alive, and we can't do it without your help. I'm Josh Reeves signing off. We'll see you next time. Take care.